Shirley here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Mercury hour Jupiter day, and the moon is still in 18 degrees Leo, which is a good time to talk about Jupiter ruling both ascendant and moon in the 5th house. This is a good time to talk about predictions regarding mass death. I know this is a very heavy topic. By the way, the UN, according to YouTube here, effing F it. Let's take it slow now. Owen Jones, UN declares genocide. Basically, the UN declared that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. I want to see the date here. Can we see UN? Naya. UN declares Israel genocide. Yeah, so this is 1 day ago. And Gaza is burning as thousands flee. So yes, they basically Israel invaded Gaza, and the UN had declared that this is committing a genocide. So for the UN, I believe they declared that in the General Assembly. Did they declare that in a P5? I don't know. But with Russia and Ukraine, the P5 is less meaningful. Now, this is happening when Saturn conjoins Neptune with Saturn in Pisces, a couple of days before a partial solar eclipse, and Mars leaving the ascendant of Israel, again in a very troubled square Pluto, in conjunct Saturn Neptune, in conjunct Uranus position, about to ingress into Scorpio after the eclipse. And unfortunately, the Saturn-Neptune conjoining, with Saturn being in Pisces, is on the axis of Palestine, and Saturn-Neptune denote mass death. So this is the, by the way, mass death due to flooding and unfortunately fires can also be the case, can also happen. Now, I want to talk about a little bit of the Saturn-Neptune in Aries as well, because this is something we're going to have on a world degree by 2026. We had a little bit of a snippet during the retrograde phase, and we saw CEOs, even of BlackRock, being assassinated. We saw estate people, real estate people being assassinated, pharmaceutical companies, naturally, because Neptune is hospitals and pharma, and any religious-based mass death is kind of finalizing in the coming months. I know this is a very uncomfortable topic to talk about, but it's also a part of the mundane things that happen in the world. And eclipses with Rahu and Rahu conjoining Saturn or co-present with Saturn are emphasizing, the Saturn part, and Saturn is death. Unfortunately, it can also be homelessness, refugees, drowning events can be, unfortunately. And what my prediction is in regarding to Gaza and Saturn moving or ingressing into Aries is that there's going to be mass deaths of um, real estate, military, religion, and medicine um, founders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs and heads of. Now again, just for everybody to chill, okay? This needs to denote the chart specifically. Okay, so I know a lot of people that watching this probably are affiliated with those echelons. Um, so no, it doesn't mean that you or your loved ones are going to die, but it just means that this is a spirit of the time, and particularly those that were thinking to invest in real estate in Gaza. Okay, why? Because Saturn denotes a trajectory, and there are certain things that is something like common sense is saying blah 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 blah, but then I see the astrology and it's like on the map. It's on the map, kind of like the writings on the wall. Um, Military generals, particularly those that are already invested in those endeavors. Um, Again, UN bailed itself out, declaring genocide after long awaiting before such a declaration. Again, after 7th of October, and the delays to acknowledge the ritual rape and human sacrifice that happened during 7th of October, with Hamas evidently partaking in that at the very least. But Hamas could not have organized such a thing alone. And there is there is the issue for those who support ritual rape and practice those things. It's a bit of it's going to be something that's going to be discussed. Let's just put it that way, um, on a larger scale. And Mars is invisible, which means we might not even hear, for example, the assassination of CEO of BlackRock. It was a lady, and realtors and so on. I think one YouTube video I saw about this, but it was absolutely not on the news. So we might not even hear too much about those things when they happen. And yet, Sun opposing Saturn here with the eclipse is kind of a full exposure of the mass deaths. For example, watching Al Jazeera today, seeing kind of like a couple of story underground mass grave, which was layers upon layers. So layers of people, layers of sand, layers of people, layers of sand, digging deep into the ground, and which would take, it would take. You could even see the using construction vehicles to pile up and to put the sand over the bodies. Again, denoting the involvement of real estate and construction. So think about construction, CEOs of construction companies involved in that, and people that consciously are invested in that, because Aries is conscience, intelligence, milieu, all those things. Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer, unfortunately gives us mass deaths involving religious background to do with people, which is very, the astrology is very much descriptive of an organization like the UN declaring genocide. So Mars, yes, in conjuncting this Saturn Neptune from Libra, and will later ingress into Scorpio. So here is where an extreme form of military activity is actually resulting in mass deaths or ruling over mass deaths, supposedly for the motive of justice and balance. But it could also denote the action of the UN declaring that this is genocide. Mars again opposing Chiron. So there is a wound around sovereignty in both Israel and Palestine. Obviously, to plan something like 7th of October, real estate-wise, they would need a lot of action. Perhaps there is an estate in More 19 Arad, Israel, that was involved in rituals to prepare for humiliation rituals of 7th of October. And it belongs to certain realtors. And those were, Israeli people, whether they were MK Ultra, being involved in such things. And and those things are actually, preceding years upon years before the events. Couldn't have happened without the unkind help of care for those people. And after 7th of October, of course, Israel began to invade Gaza Strip, and now finalizing this invasion with invasion to Gaza. There's still kidnapped people from the Israeli side that are 2 years. And now the UN declares this genocide, which basically denotes Israel will need to pay shilumim, means compensation, for all the survivors, a la Germany after the Second World War. Because with UN declaring, it means that this presence, those are the same countries that partake in representativeness. There is a question about the role of Netherlands. Netherlands is under heavy litigation, not only for this thing, something to do with children as well, and many other things, I guess. COVID, I don't know. And probably the litigation will not be able to be taking place in The Hague, in the ICJ. Call it ICC all the time. ICJ. So then the question, what country will replace the place of Netherlands in the International Court of Law? And there was even a question of whether to make Israel not a part of the UN following the events. So that is now, because of the war in Ukraine, the P5 is kind of neutralized. And P5, the Security Council, it's the countries that can veto in the Security Council. And this is perhaps a part of why Article 4 was invoked only 2.5 years after, more than 2.5 years. Where am I living? 2025, that was 2022. Um, and now we are fractions before invocation of Article 5. Donald Trump has declared Gaza Strip the worst real estate deal ever, and I think he should have listened his own advice not to try to invest there again. That's my humble opinion. Um, I do think that there's going to be a tremendous amount of compensation that Israel will have to pay here, and I do think that a military action could enforce Israel to comply with such payments. Um, okay, simply because somebody's going to have to build Palestine. They've already declared a declaration of independence for Palestine, and somebody's going to have to pay for it. And it makes sense that they will, perhaps after having convinced Israel that this will be just the beseder, it will be okay, everything will be okay, are going to force Israel to pay for the building of Gaza, out of which they will take shilumim or compensations for the survivors. This is something that was known and discussed I think around 2019. So probably a lot of oil and gas underneath the soil. But again, we're moving towards other types of energies. So the fuss about oil and gas is probably transitionary. Yet old habits, I guess, and also fiscal habits, although the wealth has moved from Pluto to Neptune. So this is practically what I have to say. Black Moon Lilith will go over the Chiron of Israel. I did an episode about this. I chose currently not to post it. Not going to be an easy time for anything bravado based. But again, Israel, as I said, and that I did post, is absolutely not the country we can point the finger of blame at without that being a two-edged sword that will expose everything that was enabling this declared genocide in all the world. Again, the old shamanic saying, okay, where children are not fed, where people are homeless, where the disabled are, being mistreated, even if they do get supposed curation, where a woman cannot live alone, there would be disaster after disaster. This is as old as Sedna, and that's a global issue. So that's not an Israel issue. And this is also something that would be, yes, that will be dealt with on a global scale. More mass death predicted. With Pisces, anything clergy. Doctors, psychiatrists, shamans and healers. And again, this doesn't denote if it is justified or not justified. It's just like, who are the people who could die? And we're talking mass death here. By the way, the 4-story grave that was dug up in Gaza was at a hospital in Gaza, according to Al Jazeera. Now, one would say, how would a Palestinian woman that had been, I don't know, violated by her husband be treated in a hospital in Gaza? And did the entire medical staff and team not simply share the consequences? Is an open question, but to ask a 4-story grave, mass grave, open questions is also kind of futile. As for the Saturn Neptune on a world degree, World Economic Forum, anything global. Vulcan calling sick. Oh my god, Saturn Neptune is mass, that world degree. This means anybody that is the head of global organization, hidden, medical welfare CEOs, who that was not a fucking owl. Who? Because Neptune is global. Oh, this is a bad time for global mafia. Heads of secret societies, of global secret societies, kind of like the people at the top of the pyramid, and particularly of new global organizations. Now, I'm not up to speed with new global organizations. This is, of course, a wordplay on the on the drug industry. But those that thought that they have completely dismantled the war on drugs might find that they have dismantled global drug lords, particularly organized crime. Because Saturn is organization, Neptune is crime. Arms, organized crime regarding arms. Jabs on NATO at a later degree. No, NATO actually has Mars and Venus at the 10th, and Mercury is 6 degrees, right? I think it doesn't begin before the 10th degree or the 6th degree, but it's not 0 degree. It's not 0 degree Aries, so yeah. But Neptune being on the world degree with Saturn being in Pisces is giving mass death of religious, global, to do with army and banking. We're probably not going to know about that, but and I'm not talking about like, it's giving mass death. So, and now for Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, the mass deaths are going to be far more religious, even holistic medicine. But traditional holistic medicine, traditional hospitals, religious medicine, religious drugs, global drug organizations. But this one does not know the head of, but the bureaucracy of, or the patriarchy of. Because Saturn is like the father, or padre. Religious, I said, orthodoxy, Mass death of Orthodox religious, but this can also be homeless. Um, and Pisces is kind of like a one world religion, so this can denote more the Abrahamic religions. Um, those are the predicted mass deaths. Secret societies to do with religion and orthodoxy, and made Opus Dei. They were accused for human trafficking before. And yeah, Falcon, I don't know. People are showing me the things that they believed about the female womb, vagina. Yes. Yeah, I remember I saw that. Those are things that when feminists told me, I didn't believe them. Like, they're probably not that. They are that stupid. Anyway, um, so yeah. Banking fraud, tax fraud, mass death around tax frauds, a lot of bonds going missing. Now, Saturn Neptune, of course, always denotes communism somehow, so it's kind of like mass death, communism. Who can tell the difference? With capitalism, it's at least more kind of like clandestine. Who shot Charlie Kirk? Your entire country, your entire country. There are more targeted individuals in the U.S. than individuals. Anyway, something more. Oh, maritime law. Anybody heard about United States and maritime law? I heard they are divorcing one another. I think the new Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the conflict between maritime law and U.S. Any type of maritime law. Um, meanwhile, NATO trying to cut cables. Uh, I'm sorry, tend to cut cables. Yeah, the megalithic naval jabs. Um, who? Anyway, um, what's more? Oh, for those that wonder, religious structures. Will the Bastilia? There are people who chase disasters, kind of like disasters in real estate. Will the Bastilia? Well, the thing is about it that Saint Peter and the Bastilia, it's Pisces, so we would need something in a real estate. It's not Mars is not a part of the show in Pisces, so I don't necessarily see those that have been chasing world disasters. I don't necessarily see the Bastille, the Basilica, the Bastilia. Tell the difference. Anyway, at this time it will be difficult to tell the difference, but I don't necessarily see the Basilica floating in Noah's Ark, or I mean, definitely this is a transit that gets folks trying to guess which type of disasters are going to be happening, which, oh, yes, water. Water at this time may be electric. Um, that is um, those who are singing in my mind, "We all live in a yellow submarine," are requested to hold your horses. Um, by the way, Israel wanted to dig up and find Altalena, which is the Israeli ship with immigrants, Israeli immigrants that the Israeli guerrilla army before the IDF decided to shoot down, uh, just because they thought it was invaded. I have no idea what was. It just happened. I don't know. Um, so perhaps they will find Altalena. They actually is a good transit to find it. I just hope it wouldn't take other people in. Um, billionaires, billionaires. I have to admit, it might not be the best time to go on the maritime expeditions. Um, Falcon in the Arctic be like. And shipping companies. Oh, credit score. Because Neptune is crime and Saturn is a structure. So, credit scores, um, tariffs, credit scores, and again, Neptune ingress into Aries was the Trump raising the tariffs for China. Now China is biting back. And by the way, the embargo on Israel was to not buy goods from Israel. Um, I think right now we actually don't produce anything good. I mean, the MK Ultra Mafia has just. We had some giant fruits, it's true. Um, I mean, think about it. Israeli produced Palantir. It's. I said we produce nothing good right now. It's just there is something with laser that people make an exception for, because we kind of develop a better technology to laser. I'm sorry, use laser to defend from from drones, and um, leaked papers, missing papers, leaked papers, things present in there missing. Attempts to make papers missing will probably be very satirical, especially. You know, we can say that Israel has Saturn in Leo and Mars in Leo, and they have been pretty proud of many things that now they probably would. It would be too late to dissolve the papers. um, so, what else can I say about this? Ketu is about leaders, particularly. Um, Also can be pharmaceutical with Virgo, authors, journalism, um, Mercury Libra, juristic journalism, Not necessarily true crime at all, actually just jurisdiction related. Not necessarily crime related, but jurisdiction related. Um, oh, judges, particularly the judges that think about in verbatim. The in verbatim is being purged. So the jurisdiction that is done by in jurisdiction, there is jurisdiction that is one-to-one, kilashon hachok, okay, by the language as exactly as per the law. And there is the jurisdiction that is the interpretation of the law. So this one kind of feels like we are purging the by the law, and there's going to be a need to interpret the law. But in general, and yes, with Mars still in the sign of jurisdiction, then there's going to be an extreme interpretation of words that is not in verbatim around the litigation. If I think about the ICJ, there was a difficulty to accuse Israel in genocide because judges were assassinated and they also may have their face on Epstein figures. But also, in terms of jurisdiction, the term genocide, like Israel had to qualify and they had to have visible evidence that Israel qualifying for genocide. And I guess according to the UN, Israel provided. So the duration that it took to declare genocide, again, from the world perspective, I'm not here saying, oh, it's not, how should I say, I'm not saying it's good, it's bad, it's this, it's that. I address the fact that where a woman is not safe and free to live, regardless of her ability to work at a given time, there will be disaster after disaster, whether it's natural disaster, genocide, democide, false flags, and so forth. But when it comes to the particular jurisdiction case, the length of time it took was because of the court working in verbatim, and basically I think there's going to be a change in that to interpretation of the law, or in the spirit of the law. But this is going to be squaring Pluto because of something to do with Article 5. Because who is up next after Israel has the right to defend itself? Article 5. NATO has the right to defend itself. So, and we understand that the invocation of Article 5 will be Pearl Harbor-like, so NATO will have the right to defend itself, and yet the jurisdiction that the UN is preparing for Israel is going to apply for NATO. And yeah, better to know this in advance. To an already litigated ex-prime minister that is now head of NATO, this is yes, just yeah. So who is scheduled to be Hitler in this world war? Annika Lucas talking about the rituals. Actually, Annika Lucas talked about the rituals that were done at the elite, kind of the folks that work with Bilderberg and Belsen. And there was a ritual where somebody had to play Hitler and betray young children. And that was a part of the training for wealth consolidation. So, yes, this is It's not something that I didn't see coming. I just kind of had the feeling that, like, oh my God, they're gonna make this person Hitler. Um, everybody wants to be, yes, everybody wants to be Churchill, but that's what these treason cults do. They're gonna make this person Hitler while telling them that they're going to be Churchill. But I think sovereignty in the face of MK Ultra can alter a lot of things, and Jupiter going back and forth, going retrograde on Procyon, which is Jupiter return for Mark Rutte, um, is definitely in his favor. And in that case, if it translates as prevention of a nuclear holocaust, can also be in the world's favor. But the question that would be asked is, of course, at what price? And it sounds like a weird question, but to those that went through what Anneke Lucas went through, it's not. Anyway, anybody that has heard of United States and maritime law, if there is any willingness for them to speak to one another, because according to maritime law, it's kind of challenging for them to do to respond to another Pearl Harbor, um, to respond anyway. And yeah, this eclipse was in the row of United States, in the fourth house of United States. Um, the fourth and 10th house of United States correlates with the chart of Hamas. Just I don't know why. Just thinking about that. Anyways, I think that's it.